Oh. Ah. What the hell? Oh. Ah. What the hell?
Tevi, please enjoy this late Christmas gift from yours truly. I know how much you've wanted to get a 3DS capture card to review Majora's Mask 3D. I'll return to collect my payment one day. Have fun, and we'll meet soon.
Well, that's ominous. Huh. Let's do this thing. What are your opinions on remakes? And I'm not talking about like ports or remasters. I'm talking straight remakes from the ground up in a new engine. I think it could be more of a benefit rather than a detriment, but it honestly depends on if a remake is even needed in the first place. Whether it's to return a series to its former glory or to give genuine improvements to a longtime classic. Nintendo is no stranger to remaking their games. Mario's had a few, both mainline and spin-off. Metroid has Zero Mission and Samus Returns, and Star Fox has like, what, 3 Star Fox 64s? I don't know. The Zelda series is no stranger to remakes. As of now, we're sitting at 3. Ocarina of Time 3D, Link's Awakening on the Switch, and today's subject matter, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. The announcement for this got me so excited back in 2014. Not because I was a fan of the game, I hadn't even played it yet, but because it was going to be an accessible way for me to finally give it a try. So after not spending my vacation money in the summer of 2015, I made 3 distinct purchases. A Japanese import for a Shulk amiibo, Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5 on PS3, and Majora's Mask 3D on the 3DS. That was a fun summer. I played this version of the game a lot, enough to make it my 3rd most played game on my Nintendo 3DS. But is it a version of the game I could recommend to anyone who's looking to get into Zelda's best? Let's find out.
Before we jump into it, a few things I want to mention. Firstly, I played through both the N64 and 3DS versions of the game to get a better understanding of the various changes in the 2015 release. Secondly, I played the N64 version on an original N64 with an original cartridge and controller and had it upscaled with this doohickey. Yeah, it might not be as sharp and clean as the NSO version, but I'm a sucker for the older pixelated look. Thirdly, I want to give a big thank you to the modder Loopy. Thanks to him, I was finally able to order and get a 3DS capture device installed. I'm very happy with how it turned out, and now I have more libraries of games to look at in the future. So with those bits out of the way, let's go for a bit more of a structured approach for this video. It has been 3 years since I originally reviewed Majora's Mask, and I haven't fully beaten the game since I recorded the footage for that video. So do I still hold the same opinion I did all those years ago? Short and to the point, yes. I do think a few more issues have become a bit more obvious to me, like the Goron rolling isn't as smooth as I'd like it to be, a few side quests are noticeably more annoying this go around, and doing some of these over and over for multiple rewards can be draining at times. But overall, Majora's Mask is still a game I won't ever get tired of. I can go back whenever and I know I'll have a great time. If there was one Zelda game I could play for the rest of my life, it's Breath of the Wild. But if there were 2 Zelda games I could play for the rest of my life, it's Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But if I could only play 3 Zelda games for the rest of my life, then it's the 2 Switch-era Zelda games and Majora's Mask. With that out of the way, let's get into the meat and potatoes for this video. We'll divide it up into 3 major parts so I can put my thoughts out more clearly. I'm not going to go frame by frame or texture by texture, so if there's some small thing you expect me to talk about, I'm sorry, I'm just covering the big stuff. Let's start with the presentation. Majora's Mask 3D continues what Ocarina of Time 3D established back in 2011 with its presentation. All of the models, textures, and animations have been updated with grace and love. At points, these characters look like they jumped off the pages of the strategy guide, perfectly translating the art style into the 3rd dimension, as if that's how it was always supposed to look. Of course, the jump from 20 to 30 frames per second is always a plus, and the game ran as smooth as butter. I can't really think of a time I encountered a large amount of slowdown like on the original game. As far as the updated textures for items and environments, everything checks out and looks fantastic. There were a few aesthetic changes I thought made plenty of sense, like changing the Garrow's mask from a regular Garrow to the Master Garrow. I think my biggest issue with MM3D's presentation is the lighting, and this is sort of in relation to the whole art style thing. The character art for Majora's Mask puts heavy emphasis on these darker shadows. It's a subtle way to highlight the darker atmosphere of this game. This was implemented pretty well at points in the game, especially in areas like the Great Bay Temple and a few of the mini dungeons. But when you compare the 3DS version of those areas, it's a whole other ballgame. The lighting is sort of overdone in a few areas, more often than not completely eliminating the atmosphere. Look at the boss arena in the Great Bay Temple to compare the two. It's almost a night and day difference. This is a similar issue I have with Ocarina of Time 3D, but it's especially noticeable here. I also wish they kept the opening background the same. With the fog and gray enveloping Link's surroundings, I got the impression that he was deep in the Lost Woods, possibly even far from Hyrule. But in Majora's Mask 3D, the predominantly blue background makes things feel safer and not as tense as it should be. It's an odd thing to critique, but I still wanted to bring it up. Majora's Mask 3D comes equipped with plenty of changes, many of them being some nice quality of life ones that come from Ocarina of Time 3D, like the addition of a 4th item button, and the Ocarina of Time having its own button. Switching between the tabs to look through your items and masks is really convenient, and certain plot important items like the deeds and such are listed in the gear tab, no longer taking a spot in the regular item pool. The general control of MM3D is great. Character movement is smooth and attacking feels as it should. The Deku form now has a red target reticle to help with aiming, which I appreciate. The Goron form's rolling controls are significantly better, and I found myself using it more here than when I played the N64 version. Items aimed in first person are smooth as butter and can also be aimed with the gyro controls in the Nintendo 3DS. This is by far one of the best blessings for the mainline Zelda remakes and remasters, and I'm glad to see that it's made its way here, especially since there's so many minigames that utilize the bow that are made more manageable thanks to the new aiming controls. Time manipulation was the name of the game in Majora's Mask, and thanks to some tweaks, it's much easier to get certain things done at your convenience. In the N64 version of the game, the Song of Double Time would either teleport you to 6 PM of the current day or 6 AM of the next day, sometime leaving the player with moments where they'd be standing around until their appointed time. For Majora's Mask 3D, you can now use the Song of Double Time to warp yourself to whatever time of day you need. This makes things so much more manageable, and I welcome the change with open arms. Learning the Song of Soaring happens as soon as you enter the Southern Swamp, which is another change I like. That way I can head back to Clocktown and get any extra items or things like that if I need to. Some item locations were changed a bit, mostly it's that you'll get another bottle sooner than normal and a heart piece a bit later than normal. Nothing drastic that unbalances anything. There's a brand new side quest involving the 3 Goron brothers that will net you an extra bottle, giving you a new total of 7 bottles. I know it's worthless, but now I can have 7 bottles of Chateau Romani. I promise I don't have a problem. While there are a number of changes I do enjoy about Majora's Mask 3D, not all of them are good. Let's start with the save system. In the original Majora's Mask, the only way you could do a permanent save was through using the Song of Time. This was a unique aspect of the game, and if you didn't want to reset the whole cycle just yet, you could talk to the owl statues to do a temporary save in case you needed to go do something else. With the remake, you just simply need to speak to the owl statue for a save prompt, and the game adds a few statues that are purely just for saving purposes.
For whatever reason, though, saving via the Song of Time was just completely removed, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Would it have been too hard to just give the players an option for both? A few of the minigame's rewards have been changed from 50 rupees on the first and second days to these fishing hole passes, which I wouldn't mind if the fishing was giving any sort of importance or even tied to new side quests, but everything involving Terminus 2 new fishing holes is completely optional. The Bomber Kids in the original game would provide players with a few hints that could lead you in the right direction without directly giving you the answer, while the Bombers in the remake tell you exactly where you should go and what reward you'll earn. And while they were passive until after you spoke to them previously, in the remake they'll chase after you and do this little dance like you owe them drug money or something. Like, come on kid, I'm kind of in the middle of something here. Unfortunately, big changes were made to the Deku mask and the Zora mask, thankfully leaving the other 2 transformation masks untouched. For some reason, Deku Link loses all of his momentum when he begins skipping between lily pads and open areas of water, meaning spinning to gauge speed no longer works, which leads me to running around land for a bit to make water skips I could effortlessly do in the original game. While annoying, it's something that I can adjust to, but what they did to the Zora swimming was just bad. Let's compare notes. Here's Zora swimming in the original game, and here's swimming in the 3DS remake. What the hell is this? The original swimming controls were amazing and rewarded players for mastering the mechanics. So why did they make the swimming in the remake closer to games like Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword? The only way you can get close to the original swimming is by using the electric barrier move, which drains magic. Magic pots were not added to points of the game like the Pirate Fortress, meaning if you run out of magic before getting inside, you can't rescue Shiro the Invisible Soldier, who's been moved here from his original spot in Nakana Canyon. You could sort of fix this issue by drinking a bottle of Chateau Romani, but you lose most of your first day of the cycle at least to fix a problem that didn't need to exist in the first place. And even with the faster Zora swimming, they fucked something up with it, because I was able to do the minigame with the beavers just fine in the original, while I struggled so much to get through these checkpoint tubes in the remake. While most of the items remain pretty untouched, the same unfortunately can't be said for the ice arrows. Inside Great Bay Temple, you could shoot the ice arrows anywhere on the water to make platforms needed to reach some areas to get items and progress through the dungeon. Either way, you had to do it, but players could make their own path, and it was a really cool upgrade from Ocarina of Time. In the remake, you can only make ice platforms on these sparkles, which is dumb. Basic observation could lead you to the dungeon secrets, and these sparkles just lead you to the solution, and they're placed in a way that insults my intelligence. But I think the biggest crime this remake performs is on the boss fights. The only fight that is anything like its original counterpart is Majora's Mask itself. Every other fight has been changed for the worst. Odawa lost all of his challenge, going from an intense one-on-one that took skill to uncover openings, turned into a very boring and traditional use item to expose weak spot and hit when exposed fight. Goat was my favorite fight in the original game. Now he can exclusively be taken out with the fire arrows once you knock him down the first time. Georg was an annoying fight previously, but with the changes made to its swimming pattern and the whole additional second phase, it drags the fight out even longer than it should be. And the same can be said for Twin Mold, but much worse. Previously, you could either shoot at his tail with the light arrows or use the Giant's Mask to get up close and personal with each of them. Now you have to hit these eyes on his abdomen and reveal the eyeball in his mouth, kill the first one, grab the Giant's Mask, and wrestle with the second one. The range for punching with this thing is fucking terrible. I swear there were so many times my fist went through this asshole and he didn't get hit. And slamming this fucker is only satisfying the first time and not the other 4 times you have to do it. What also confuses me is that despite other aspects of the game receiving quality of life changes, the only change made to the Elegy of Emptiness was that you can skip the animation sooner. That's it. So you didn't make a change to the most tedious part of the game, but you had enough time to add 2 new fishing holes. Priorities, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this was a change I decided to give its own section to for one reason that I'll talk about soon enough. The Bomber's Notebook is handled a bit differently in MM3D compared to its N64 counterpart. The Happy Mask Salesman will give it to you right after you learn the Song of Healing and turn yourself back to normal, rather than needing to enter the hideout as normal Link. In the N64 game, the Bomber's Notebook laid out various NPCs and their schedules that you could use for side quests and the like, and this is expanded upon in the 3DS remake with more characters being included. Now there's an entry for almost every side quest that involves another person, and Tattle can even set alarms for certain side quests in case you'd like her to remind you. So what's the problem? Every time you either talk to a new NPC with a notebook entry, or if you complete a side quest, or if you fail a side quest, the game will take you into the book, add the entry through this animation, add that NPC to the list of characters on the schedule page, and then boot you back out to the action. This is extremely pace-breaking for me, and it breaks my immersion like nothing else. Let's do another comparison. First, here's a notification from the N64 game. And here's the same side quest and its notification in the 3DS version. And it may not seem like it, but that time adds up, and if the N64 original could notify you without taking you to a different screen, I don't see why the 3DS remake couldn't do the same thing. Piece of shit! While Majora's Mask 3D is a worthwhile upgrade in many respects, it deviates and changes too many of the game's unique aspects to be considered as the definitive version of Majora's Mask. When it comes to recommending what version of this game you should play, you have to ask yourself a few questions. Did you find the original version of Majora's Mask too hard or too different from past Zelda experiences? Then I would actually recommend you try out Majora's Mask 3D, assuming you can find a copy and a 3DS in today's current market. However, if you're someone like me who has played the original version of the game to death, or if you're really experienced with the rest of the series, then I would recommend playing the original version of Majora's Mask on the N64. I was hoping that this remake would be for Majora's Mask what Ocarina of Time 3D was to Ocarina of Time, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be.
Alright, well I think that's going to do it for my little Zelda revisit. I didn't really plan for the last 3 videos to be Zelda focused, but I guess I could always bullshit and say it was a celebration for the 40th anniversary of the series. Actually, now that I think about it, there are quite a few franchises that have anniversaries this year. Zelda, Kid Icarus, Sonic the Hedgehog, Pokemon, Resident Evil. But there's one franchise that's turning 40 this year that I want to dedicate the next marathon to. So the next time that we meet, we'll be taking a look at the Metroid series. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all again next time.